Hello, welcome to Simple Life Philosophy, and I'm your host, Ed Raby. This is a channel where you follow along on my journey to find a simpler philosophy of life that is both simple to understand and simple to execute as I travel more towards simplicity, where I can be a productive person but also have peace of mind in a more simple life. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Take the time to subscribe to the channel, hit your notification bell. As you watch the video, like it, share it, and make sure you comment if you have a decent comment to talk about or something of interest related to the video. Don't be afraid to comment. I always enjoy comments, so thank you for doing that. Today I want to continue on in a series that I started. We're talking about the 12 Stoic Exercises as presented by Massimo Pigluicci in his book, How to Be a Stoic. And today we're talking part 2, so we're doing exercises 5 through 8. 5 through 8. And I want to start with number 5, which is pause and take a breath. Basically, as I go through these, I'm kind of telling you my own experiences and practicing them, plus, how they've affected my life. But pause and take a breath is probably something I have done a good chunk of my life. I think a lot of people get very frustrated when they try to insult me or try to talk behind my back or whatever, because I've gotten to the point where I genuinely don't care most of the time. I've been insulted many times in my life, and I just kind of blew it off. And here's the thing about that: when it happens to the person that's doing the insulting, is it gets very frustrating for them, because if you've ever tried to insult or belittle a rock, that's how it feels. Because usually when people insult you, they're trying to get a reaction, they're trying to get an emotional thing, and when you don't give it to them, they don't know what to do with that. Okay, and pause and take a breath is very much about, when somebody gets in your face, or somebody is trying to hurt you or trying to do something with their words or whatever, to just pause, take a breath, and go, okay, whatever. Stoics are kind of famous for this. They're kind of famous for being like rocks and not getting emotionally, dragged into a fight. And I think part of it is the understanding that there's a benefit to that, which is nobody really has power over your emotions when you're like that. It's not actually a sign of weakness. Okay, expressing your emotions effectively is a good thing to do. I struggle with it, and I know that I need to be better at it. But in certain situations, your emotions can get the best of you and actually make the situation worse. And when you're being insulted or threatened or whatever, losing control of your emotions at that moment actually plays into the person who's insulting you's hands and actually makes it worse. It's moments like that where being like a stoic, quote unquote, and not reacting are actually better. In my own practice of this most of my life, and I think part of that is an autistic trait, where we mask really well, and it kind of can degenerate into masking. But when you get into a moment where it really is insulting, it's actually quite effective. It's the one place where it is effective, where you just kind of pause, take a breath, and go, okay, whenever you're done, I'll talk. I mean, I've dealt with that a couple of times with people that just got up in my grill about whatever, and I'm like, okay, when you're ready to calm down and have a discussion about this, I'll be glad to have a discussion with you, and we can get things done. So it's kind of, it sets them back and saying, okay, I'm not going to have a relationship with you where you get emotional control over me. It's not going to happen. And so it's better for us to talk as equals and not as you trying to get emotional control of me. And the way to do that is pause and take a breath. Okay? Number 6 is otherize. Now, what it's meant by that is coming to realize that you're very much like other people. I think like a good example of this is, like, let's say you spill something in your kitchen and you get all upset, and it's like, this only happens to me, and this is, and it's like, back off for a minute and think about that. How many people have spilled something in their kitchen today? Probably a lot. Okay, and what that does, what otherizing does, is it allows you to humble yourself a little bit and realize that you're just like anybody else, and not you're going through stuff that other people have gone through. I think one of the the great tragedies sometimes is that we sometimes think that we're the only ones going through something, we're the only ones that are facing something. And this has really been something, doing this exercise more recently, I've been focusing on the fact that, for instance, I'm not the only one with adult autism. I'm not the only one that's hypersensitive. I'm not the only one that has faced problems because of this. And what that allows me to do is, okay, there's other people facing this and they're getting a handle on it and they're going forward with their lives. If they can, I can too. And what this does is it really puts you in a position where you really get back in touch with your own humanity. You start to really begin to feel that, hey man, I can be just like anybody else. And I don't have to sit there and bemoan my situation, but also I can draw strength from that and realize if other people have paved the way and gotten out of this, I can too. And so otherizing is really, no, I'm facing this situation. Like I think when I really started to do this without really knowing what it was when I was in the midst of my divorce. I'm like, man, this is awful, this is crap. But then I realized there's literally hundreds of thousands of people that go through divorce, okay, and probably millions of people have gone through a divorce. And I'm no different than them, and it's not the end of the world. There is life after this. And by otherizing it and saying, hey, other people have done this, it calmed me down and it made me realize that, this too is survivable. This is, something that can be done. And I think that's something that people need to get a good grasp on, and otherizing helps you do that. Number 7 is speak little and well. Uh, I probably did this naturally so with my personality pretty much most of my life. I've never wanted to be a person that drew attention to themselves too much. So when I did speak or had to speak, I would speak as best I could, trying to communicate clearly and not speak more than I really needed to. I preferred to listen rather than speak. Um, a lot of Stoics say avoid frivolous conversations, but what is frivolous and what isn't frivolous is relative. Okay, that's one area where me and the Stoics kind of have a ring around the rosy, because if I'm trying to build camaraderie with friends, they're saying, well, don't talk about gladiator shows or this, all the stuff is what the ancient Stoics would say. And I'm like, yeah, but I like football and I want to talk football. Okay, so if I'm with my friends at work and I want to talk football, to me that's not a frivolous conversation because it's building camaraderie. And this is where me and the Stoics, I guess I would want to corner them on this one, the ancient ones, and see if they have an answer. Maybe they do, and I just haven't listened to it. But it's like, if I'm trying to build a better society, should I not empathize with people in the society, and what better way to empathize with them than talk about common interests from time to time? Sure, I still don't want to dominate such conversations. I want to hear what other people have to say. But at the same time, engaging in those conversations is what builds camaraderie. Now, I'm still, going to avoid things like gossip and judgment. That's kind of my real struggle, is the judgment part. The gossip, not so much. Although there's definitely people at work that try to draw me into that. I don't really care for that. And then there's others, the judgment, judging other people by their work and judging me. It's like, do I really want to go down that rabbit hole? But I find myself in conversations where it's like, who's the best person to do this, and who's the best, and that's more of a practical, relative thing. Judgment is more like, yeah, the guy's a real jerk or whatever. And I don't know. I've always worked to get along with as many people as possible, regardless of my personal feelings about them. And whenever I speak to people, I try to speak well and keep my words to the point. I mean, I joke around and have fun with people, and that's where, speak little and well. I kind of have to ask some questions there, because what if you like to socialize and you like to talk about certain subjects because it builds camaraderie, seems like that's something that would stay in there. I think for me, this exercise of speak little and speak well, I definitely want to do the speak well part all the time, but the speak little, what do you mean? Um, what is frivolous? What is judgment? What is gossip? At what point do we realize that some of those things are useful to helping us build society at times, particularly, like just talking about stuff that we're all commonly interested in is a pretty good thing. It's not a bad thing. Um, Exercise number 8 goes along with this a little bit is choose your company well. In other words, who you hang with, be very selective about that. And I got to be honest, this is one I think I overkill a little bit. I have one really close friend. I have a bunch of other friends that I would consider good friends, a couple of good friends. The rest of everybody else is kind of acquaintance friends or work friends or whatever. And it's because I don't want to be associated with people that do certain things sometimes, not because I think those things are bad, but because society takes a dim view of them. And so I don't always hang with such people all the time. I want my company around me to be supportive and to lift me back up and not necessarily be a person that's negative about my situation. I think I have a hard time hanging around people that want to outdo each other with how bad they have it. Okay. And I think I do this a little bit too much because I'm often very hard. I don't like to make new friends. I don't, it's like and I really should because it would actually probably be helpful to me. But, it's like, nah, I take my humans as I can get them. My suggestion in practicing this, though, is remember that reputation matters more than reality. Reputation matters more than reality. If you start hanging around people that have a bad reputation, even if what the reality of that relationship is you're not doing anything, it doesn't matter because people will think you're doing it because you're hanging around uh, people that do that sort of activity that you don't want to be known for. It's better to have few friends that are loyal to you and who build you up and make your reputation better than to have 100 million friends that tear your reputation down. Reputation is important because whenever you decide to go into something and you want to try something, your reputation precedes you. It's why I practice, industriousness and work hard with joy because regardless of how much I'm working for, I still want the reputation of being a hard worker because that always pays dividends. I don't care what people say about having good relationships. If people know you're a hard worker, you will never have trouble finding a job, any kind of job. You just have to have that reputation. But always choose your company well too. You want to be hanging around people that also, work hard, have dreams, have visions, have aspirations, maybe even fellow Stoics, so that you can focus better on your own walk and your own simple life journey. Well, that's been today's edition of Simple Life Philosophy as we delve into the 12 Stoic exercises, and this has been part 2 as we discussed exercise 5 through 8. Um, just a reminder, to like the video if you liked it, comment if you have any comments about any of these subjects, but always try to move your life to a more simple life. I think you'll find that the peace and productivity is definitely worth moving into a more simple lifestyle. So far, that has been true for me, and part of that is following the Stoic exercise. So, once again, thanks for stopping by. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do the things that you need to do. Get your notification bell on so you can get new content as it is released. I've been Ed Raby, your host here today on Simple Life Philosophy, and I want to thank you for coming along, and you have a great day.